Welcome to Truckers Voices Podcast. Your host, Tim Taylor, and co-host, Steve Brand. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
This is Danny Smith. Just calling to tell you how much I appreciate listening to your show, Truckers Voices. It's very informative. I really like hearing the drivers' stories, how they got into the trucking industry and maybe what kind of trucks they started out with. And it's just been a lot of fun, and I would encourage any drivers out there to tune in and listen, call in, be a part of it. It's a great show. Thanks.
Hi, this is Scott Post, and I love Truckers' Voices because there's always something entertaining and educational for our industry. And it's also hosted by two of my good friends, Tim Taylor and Steve Brand. Tune in tonight. And in the meantime, be safe out there.
Hey everybody, how you doing tonight? My name's Charlie Demchuk, and I'm here to welcome you to tonight's big show. Y'all sit back, relax, enjoy the show. Tim and Steve got a good one in store for you. So have a good night. We'll see ya.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Hope everybody's doing good this evening. It's a rainy season down here in South Georgia. We got hurricane coming through as we speak, but hey, we're going to weather it out, and we're going to do what we do. But it's good to be back on the air. I'm sorry I missed you guys for the last 2 weeks. One, I was gone on a trip the first week, but second, when I got back, I got sick. I actually come down with COVID. So, but I'm back on the mend, and I'm glad to be back on the air with all my trucking family tonight. But I hope that if you was out there trucking today, I hope that you had a good day of trucking. We got a good show for you tonight. We got a returning guest tonight, and her name is Kellylynn McLaughlin. But some things have changed for her since we last talked to her, and I kind of made mention of this to some people I talked to personally, but I didn't tell them what she was doing now because I wanted to save it for the show. So I'm glad that you are tuning in tonight. I'm going to bring my co-host Steve in here, and we're going to talk to Steve and see what's been going on with Steve and see how his day was. So anyway, without further ado, let me bring Mr. Steve in here now. How you doing, Steve?
Doing good, Tim. How you doing, buddy? How's everybody doing out there?
Good to see you, Steve. Welcome to the show, man. I just had to give you a little bit of applause there, Steve.
I appreciate it. Yeah, we had a good trucking day. Yeah, we missed you, Tim, but we understand, and glad you're on the mends. Glad you're sounding better than what you was the last time I talked to you.
Absolutely, man.
And
it was rough.
Looking good. Looks like you got the winter beard going. That looks good.
Yeah, I told my granddaughter today, I said, yep, I turned into Santa Claus, so here I come.
There you go. That's what it's about. It's that time of year.
That's right. So tell me a little bit about what's going on in Dayton, Ohio. How's the freight up there, freight levels and everything else?
Well, it's kind of a roller coaster. You're busy today, slow tomorrow. Yeah, I really don't know. We got a meeting in the morning, so I'm not sure what they're going to tell us. But I'm staying busy. Matter of fact, today was 36,000. Yesterday was 39,000. What was it? Monday and Tuesday was pretty heavy too. So, I don't know what the guys behind me is carrying, but I'm carrying a lot of freight. So, weather's pretty nice right now, but it's going to turn chilly, going to turn rainy. Saying we could see a little snow in the air about Tuesday. Don't think it's going to accumulate to anything, but so it's that time of year, brother. That time of year.
Well, you guys are getting the cold weather, and we're getting what we normally get down here in the South is the hurricane activity. So, hey, I don't know which one I would want, over the other. I mean, both of them are pretty bad.
Well, my thoughts and my prayers to everybody down south and going up the East Coast there. I hope that thing, comes in, gets out of there, does minimal to no damage, and we could use a little water, but we don't need any damage or anything.
Absolutely. Well, Steve, let's go ahead. Let's don't keep our guest holding on here anymore. Let's bring Kellylynn in, and let's see what's been going on in her life there. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Kellylynn in here. All right, Kellylynn. Just had to give you an applause there.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. I like your little effects. You're definitely getting high tech.
We're getting there. Hey, the home studio is getting high tech there. Oh, well, it is good to see you. Life looks like it's been treating you well, and I know that there's been some changes in your life here lately, and that's one of the main reasons I wanted to have you back on the show. But other than that, how's everything been going for you?
It's been going okay. I mean, like, we're on the upward swing. It was a rough year. I lost 3 family members in the space of about 9 months. So it's one of those things that just kind of makes you refocus where your priorities are and how you're spending your time. And anyway, I was happy to be able to provide hospice care for a couple of family members, but I did make a job switch, which turned out to be really exciting. And I'm kind of the rookie all over again, which is kind of nice. I like learning new stuff and all that kind of stuff. And I made this switch because I've just been doing dry van for so long, and I wanted to take a little time off while I was doing the hospice work for my family. And when I was done with that, I just felt like I wanted something fresh. So I went into specialized equine transport, and it's just been a lot of fun. And I've been out of the truck for a little over a week, closer to 2 right now, and I miss the horses. So it's all of the work of being a driver, and it's a little bit like driving a tanker. It's like smooth as you go. And the last truck I was in was a 13 speed, and I hadn't really driven a 13 speed before. So, trying to be smooth and, still catch all the 13 and flip up and down and around and circle back around and catch another gear. And, but then on top of all of the driving work, you have all the horse care work. And hours of service is pretty much out the window if you're hauling livestock.
Right.
And it's a team driver experience for me as well, because we just can't stop when we're loaded with these fancy pants horses. So it's just been a lot of fun, and I really enjoy having the livestock and the care that goes along with having these horses. So I started out driving for a guy that was one owner-operator, 1 truck, 1 trailer out of Oklahoma. And he just didn't really have enough work for me. And then I'm driving for a guy out of Illinois, and he has 5 semi-trucks, 5 semi-trailers, and then he has a whole slew of dualies with gooseneck trailers. And so he has some people on his staff that aren't semi drivers, and they haul around horses too. But since he's in Illinois, a lot of the horses that we transport are either going to or coming from Chicago O'Hare, and they're international athletes, these horses. So they're being trained or competing, say, in Australia or the Netherlands or New Zealand, or they're going on their way to Japan. And sometimes we have to take them, down to Kentucky. And a lot of horses right now are going down to Florida during the winter season, although they just keep getting hit with more and more water, right? Um, but it's been really interesting to, be going in and out of O'Hare and transporting horses in and out of quarantine, and then sometimes to isolation spots, and then to owners or shows or trainers or, yeah. And some of the facilities that these horse equine athletes live in, I would like to live in.
Oh my Lord. I imagine it's immaculate.
Oh yeah, some of their barns and stalls is just, it's like a palace. I mean, literally, you could have a ball in their barn, and their stalls are clean and really nice. Chandeliers in some of the barns and stuff. But the number of people that it takes for one horse and one rider is really amazing. It's similar to, the teams that help coordinate all of our freight behind the scenes, right? We have just as many people that are coordinating the health and the inspections and the care and the equipment and, all of that paperwork and jazz for these horses as well, too. So it's a different line of business, and it's really interesting. It's been a lot of fun, and it is super hard work.
Yeah, I can just imagine. So let me back up on your transition there. So how many years was you actually with Snyder Transportation?
About almost 7 years. So it was like 6.5, and then some that I was with Schneider. And
Okay.
5 of it I was trainer. All of it I was over the road on dry van, and occasionally I would do reefer or I would do tanker. But usually when I did tanker, it was they would put the 500-gallon totes inside my box, and I love driving tanker. But I also, after I started this specialized equine transport, I found out in August that I was appointed to, along with 15 other women in the industry, to the FMCSA Women of Trucking Advisory Board, which is a super duper honor. It was, kind of my pie in the sky bucket list to be able to be a voice for drivers at the federal level. And so it really was, I never thought that I would be in a position to actually be able to fulfill that. So it's kind of like a dream come true for me as a spokesperson for the industry. And it was just kind of fortuitous that I had moved out of Schneider and into this equine line of business, because I think one of the things that I want to do in order to be able to represent all the different, the diversity of jobs that are out there in our freight industry, right?
Mhm.
Since I've only done reefer, dry van, and now livestock, I want to try some other lines of business and do some hazmat. I'd like to do construction. I'd like to do some intermodal. And this appointment is a 2-year appointment. And yeah, so I'm probably not going to stay in the horse industry long term.
Right.
And one of the reasons is because I'm not a team driver. I have a hard time resting if somebody else is at the wheel.
Let's
And part of that's because, I was a trainer for so long, and, my, my, my go-to is to pay attention to what everybody else is doing, right? And I just don't relax well in the sleeper when somebody else is driving.
Right, right. And I can attest to that because, I mean, even though I was with a driver a couple of weeks ago, we teamed it from San Diego back across here to Georgia. did it in 2 days. So we kept the wheels rolling, but you can't get adequate sleep like that. You really can't. Even though you trust that driver, you just can't get adequate sleep like that.
I really, really enjoy the labor that comes with this job because, I know I'm burning calories and like when I'm out there for a week, I have to take in a belt notch because I work it off for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Well, hey, let's talk about that a little bit. So how in the world did you decide, or how did you decide that you was going to go from Snyder to doing this? Or was it just something that you've always wanted to do?
Well, I didn't really intend to leave Schneider, but I resigned my position as driver ambassador for Women in Trucking Association. I just had to make some space in my life for the hospice care for my family members, and that was what I chose to like give up. And then Schneider's Schneider doesn't have an I live in Oklahoma. Schneider doesn't have an operating yard in Oklahoma, and I wanted to work part-time, and they pretty much said that after the truck that I was driving was a really high technology truck. It had the camera system instead of the mirror system, and it was just it was wrapped and all that kind of stuff with the WIT logo. And they said if I wanted to keep that tractor, I needed to go full time. And I'm just not at a point where I want to put in or can even put in 70 hours a week. Over
Right.
the
Yeah,
So I didn't have a part-time job in Oklahoma, so I had to leave. It wasn't really a choice, but I wasn't going to drive 4 hours to Dallas to go to work. But now I'm working out of Illinois, so uh, it makes no sense. But it's been a good change for me, and it's making me a better spokesperson for the industry, and I'm just learning new stuff. And life is good when you're learning new things.
yeah,
I don't want it to be stagnant and the same.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a new adventure out there every day for people to go, beyond what they're doing now. And you know, I can see that. I mean, I've been doing this LTL for over 30 years now, so, and I got a little taste of the OTR there not too a couple of weeks ago, and I'm like, not my cup of tea. I like my bed. I like being at home every night. So
Yeah.
anyway, I'm going to back off the mic here for a minute and let Steve jump in there.
Okay.
How often do you got to stop when you're carrying a load of horses?
We stop about somewhere. It depends. Usually, but around 4 to 5 hours, we'll stop and check water, make sure the horses haven't gotten themselves in a predicament. The trailers that we haul are still 53-foot trailers. We can put about anywhere. We usually put in about 15 horses in there. And that really varies depending on the customer. If we have multiple customers in one trailer, if we just have one customer with just their horses and equipment. But there's all sorts of ramps, and we can make the stalls into single stalls, 1.5 stall wide, or box stalls, which are all the way they're as wide as the trailer is. And some of the ramps fold up and they make another wall, and so you can pack the horses in. And oh dear, I forgot where I was going with all of that. But the fun part is, like, when we stop at a truck stop, opening up all the doors to check and make sure that they still have enough water and they've got hay in their hay nets, and they haven't like bit each other, or gotten sideways in their stall or whatever. Because it's really a showstopper when you get to the truck stop and you open up all these doors, and the horses are always really nosy, right? And so they stick their heads out and they want to see the other trucks and the drivers. And there's always somebody that'll come over and say hello and want to see the horses and take a picture. And their horses we handle are really well behaved, and they're special, hunter jumpers. standard bred horses, which are the ones that race around a track with a cart, like the two-wheel carts. You know what I'm talking about?
Right. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Mhm. And then some thoroughbred horses too that race. So they're usually big animals and very well behaved, and they each have their own personality. And I spent every summer on a farm, so it's kind of nice for me to be able to spend some time with farm animals again. And yeah, I
So
never thought that this is what I would be doing. So
yeah. So before we actually go over to some of the pictures and a video that you sent me, I do want to ask you, when you're hauling these animals, okay, value wise,
whew,
what
yeah,
kind of value are we talking about here?
lots and lots of zeros. That's what I can tell you.
Okay, all right. So that's kind of probably confidential. So, but I can just imagine that these are thoroughbreds, and you're actually going to the airport, shipping them across
Yep,
the water. So these are
yep.
some high dollar. So you've probably been to some really nice farms, ranches, or whatever.
Yes, I have. I have. Just pretty amazing. Like I can't tell you the names of the customers or where I've been or anything like that, but these are horse farms that are in architectural magazines, and they're just stunning. They're absolutely stunning.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Now, can you tell us? Are you hauling any horses that are famous?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Well, good answer. No better answer than yes.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So let's go back over here. I do want to get into some of these pictures here real quick. Like, okay. Let me throw that back up there and let me see how I can do that. I'm working my controls here. I'm sorry, y'all. Let me remove it and let me add it back. All right. There we go. So there's your welcome. Welcome. But this is the truck that you're driving now. So tell us a little bit about this
This is
Freightliner.
one of Tony April's trucks out, and he's the guy that I've been driving with out of Illinois. And he builds all of his trailers, and he does a really great job with his equipment. Keeping up. Like he was replacing tires that I thought were still perfectly good, and he's like, "Nope, they're not perfect. We're getting new tires." And I really appreciate. He's been in the industry for a long time, and I just, I really like the way he runs his business. He takes really good care of his drivers, and he pays us well. I mean, we work hard for him because he does such a good job of taking care of us and his equipment. And he one of the other things was, when I was interviewing him and he was interviewing me, he really wants to communicate with his drivers and his drivers to communicate with the customers to let them know where you are, when are you going to show up, how long do you think it's going to take to load, and when you're going to head out. And so he's a good, communication is important, and I like that. And yeah, so, and he's been in the industry like 40 years.
Yeah.
He knows everybody. And he runs a tight ship, and it's clean and it's organized. Even the shop is clean and organized, and the barns are clean and organized. And he showed me one trailer that was just in the build out stage, and whoever had it had hit something. It was a box fan, and they had hit something up on the top. So the frame on the bottom was still good. And what they do is, I don't know, you can see the drop down in the middle.
Yes.
They actually cut the trailer on the frame on both sides, and then they drop it down and weld it back together. And then they rebuild all the walls and the roof. And they put in cameras to keep an eye on the horses as we're going down the road. They build all the ramps and the doors, and so it's he's been doing it for a long time, and his trailers are well built and they're easy to use, and yeah, it's pretty cool.
I want to tackle a comment here, and I don't know who the Facebook user is on this one. Steve, if you can see it on your other end, let me know who it is. But it says, do you have someone in the trailer with the horses while in transit? I've seen that in the past with other companies.
No, no, and that's, we stop and check, about every 4 to 5 hours and check on the horses and water them. And
Do you
yeah,
have to? Do you
we
have to
also
go? Do
the
you have
lights on for the horses too, which I thought was interesting too. So part of that's just so you can see them with the observation cameras, but also it's to let the DOT know that there's horses in there.
Yeah. So do you have to get them out at certain times and walk them?
No, the only time you take them out is if they're really upset and going to hurt themselves banging around in there, which I haven't seen. Of course, I've only been doing this since this last summer. Um, and really the only time we take them out is when we have to unload them, and that's why it matters where they go.
Right. I got you. I got you. So you grew up around, horses and cows and stuff like that, correct?
Yep.
So you have no fear of them at all. Well, I guess you
Um,
got some respect.
yes, I have respect for them, but I'm not afraid of them.
I got you.
And I do wear my steel-toed shoes.
You bit Oh, they step on you. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah, they haven't yet, but at some point they will. My daughters and I used to raise hogs, and I always wore steel-toed boots out in the hog pen too, because those guys are heavy as well.
Yeah. I raised hogs growing up also. I showed hogs, growing up in the FFA and stuff like that. So,
But
you wouldn't think that that's fun, but that is really fun to do. It really is.
yeah, I just, I really like the horses, and yeah, it's just very down to earth, and it smells earthy, and you get to interact with your freight.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, your freight does have
Has an attitude.
personalities. Go ahead, Steve.
Uh, just to answer your question, Tim, that was Tony Wainwright that asked that question. I
Okay.
guess my question is, because I used to run Kentucky a lot. When it comes into DOT, I know they got special officers down there that deal with livestock.
Yeah.
How much issues do you have on that when you're traveling the road? You get pulled over. They want to check the horses.
If they're open, you have to go in, but not every state has the agricultural inspection station.
Right.
So, Florida is definitely one of them that does. And each one of the horses, before we transport them, have to have like a vaccination record, and they get the equivalent. I forget what it's called right now, but it's like the equivalent of what your dog might get kennel cough, right?
Okay.
So horses has to have their vaccination record just to travel within
Dog might get
the
kennel cough,
period.
right? So horses have to have their
So
Oh, I'm getting an echo.
Somebody, did your phone come on there, Steve? Okay.
yeah, it did. It did. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay. But when we're dealing with the international horses that have to go through quarantine and whatnot, they have, of course, additional inspections, and sometimes, like they say they come in from an international flight, and you have a picture of uh, the boxes that they travel in on the
I do.
airplanes.
So let me get to it.
Yeah. So these are the air freight boxes for the horses, and you can kind of see that some of them are wrapped up in a net, and that net stays around the box. And these actually we picked up from the airport and brought back to the barn facilities. They'd already been unloaded. The horses had been unloaded, and then the quarantine staff sanitize them, and then we can go and pick them up after they're sanitized. But those nets stay around there, and there's a machine that they after you load the horse in here, they pick it up and then they load it onto the airplane, and they stay in those boxes until they're unloaded. And then they go into a quarantine center, and they're usually there for about 48 hours. And it may be longer depending on where they came from.
I got a call coming in.
Oh, yeah.
Let's take a call.
All right.
Hello, caller. You're on Truckers Voices with Kellylynn McLaughlin, Steve Brand, and Tim Taylor. Who we got tonight?
This is Danny Smith.
Hey,
How
Danny.
are y'all tonight?
Good, good. You doing good out there? Are you surviving the hurricane?
I am. I unloaded in Miami this afternoon, and I'm on my way to Augusta, Georgia, as we speak.
Nice, Danny. Nice. Well, what's your question for
Great
Kellylynn?
show. I've got lots of questions on this.
Nice.
First of all, what's the longest trip you've had hauling horses? Like mileage wise, how far do you normally go?
Well, it's hard for me to say normally because I still feel like I'm really new in this industry, right? I'm just breaking in. So I started in July, and here we are in November. So this outfit that I'm with right now, they do a lot of runs from Chicago to Florida, and a lot of runs to Kentucky as well. So it just depends on what's happening. It might be a lot of runs just in the Chicago area, from O'Hare to a different facility, or it might be Kentucky. So it just, it seems to just really vary right now.
So you do come down to Florida. I know there's a lot of horse ranches down here. Like when you go through the agricultural inspection, do they like get in the trailer and inspect your horses?
They usually are just checking to make sure that you have all of the documents.
All your paperwork?
Yeah.
Okay. I got you. Well, another question. So when you deliver a load of horses, do you normally go back to your home base empty, or do you backhaul horses out of that area somewhere else? How does that work?
Well, the guy that I was driving with out of Oklahoma, he always tried to make sure he wasn't running empty. But the outfit that I'm with right now, we had a couple of times where we went down to Kentucky, but we didn't have anything coming back to Illinois. And so we would run back empty. But right now, evidently, is the high season. And so it's just a lot of back and forth between Florida and the north. And and then when you get to the big shows, everybody's trying to get their horses to the shows. But it's really a complicated system, because when you have these international equine athletes, there's a lot of time that they have to spend in transit and quarantine and isolation. And then sometimes they go to these facilities where they're showing and training. They might be there 6 weeks. And it's not just like they show up and do a couple of shows over a long weekend and then they move on. They're there for a long time.
Well, this is very interesting. This is something as a truck driver. I've been driving a truck for close to 40 years, and I've never really thought much about the people who haul horses. I see them out here, especially down here in Florida, a lot. This is interesting. So if you deliver a lot of horses and say
we lost him. Can you all hear him?
Nope, can't hear him no more.
Okay.
Can you hear him now? Danny?
can y'all hear me now?
Yeah. So you were saying if I deliver a load of horses.
If you deliver a load in Florida and you're going to pick up some more horses to go back to Chicago, do you have to clean and disinfect your trailer before you load the next group of horses on it?
Yes. There's a lot of cleaning and a lot of disinfecting.
Are there facilities at these places to do that, or do y'all have to the driver has to is responsible to do it himself?
It's not like you can go to Koala Wash and you get somebody to do it for you. And like Blue Beacon doesn't want us to show up because the straw that we put down straw on the floor to kind of help absorb some of the the excrement,
Right.
and they don't want that getting stuck in their drains. And so usually we have to scoop and clean all that stuff out at our facility. And most of the facilities it would go to have a place that they dump all of the hay and manure and that kind of thing. And then I'm pretty sure it gets composted because it looks like it's just hay and manure that are in there. So it's ready for compost. And then we'll take it somewhere else that we, the guy that I run for, Tony April, he knows where he can go, and then he tells us where to go, and then we spray it all out, power wash it, and sanitize it, and do some more power washing. And if we're doing, just like stuff that's within a day of us, usually we'll wait until we get back to the shop, and then we take out all the rubber mats and spray and disinfect again too. But yeah, there's a lot of that. So, and interestingly, when the horses come from overseas and they're in the quarantine facility, they also get disinfected. They run them in, through a bath and disinfect them before they go to their stalls. And it's very complicated.
I can see where that would be complicated.
Yeah. These are things that most people never even think about, how animals are transported in this country. And now I kind of missed the first 5 or 10 minutes of the show, but a while ago you showed a picture of the containers.
Yeah.
They put the horses in these containers, then put them on the airplane. Is that what they're for?
Yes, that's exactly right.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have no idea about any of this.
See, Danny,
Now,
Danny, when I first got to
Yeah.
talking to her and she sent me some pictures, that's what piqued my interest. I actually seen some other pictures that she had put up on Facebook of these, and I'm like, I never thought about that, So I said, I got to reach back out to her and get her back on the show. So I'm glad I did.
Well, the reason, so 4 years ago, at one of the Women in Trucking events, I met a woman, and her name's, I always butcher her last name, but her first name is Sue. And I just bumped into her and I was like, hey, what do you do? And she said, well, I haul horses. And I was really fascinated by her job. She was the only woman in the room that was hauling livestock. And she said the reason that she got into it is she had a horse that competed, and she couldn't find anybody to haul her horse. So she just decided to start a horse hauling business, and she did. And so when I was looking to get out of dry van and do something different, I just happened to be talking. She called me about something else. And I mentioned I was looking to get into a different line of business. And she said, why don't you try horses? And so here I am. And I didn't know any of this either. And I am still totally in learning mode. So don't think that I'm the authority on all of this, because I am definitely learning.
Wow, that's something. How you'd lucked into this just by meeting this lady,
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I will get off here. It's been very interesting. I know there are probably other people that want to get in here, but this is very interesting. And good luck. Good luck on it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Danny, be careful out there tonight.
Guys, good show. Talk to y'all later.
Thank you.
Nice to talk to
See you, brother. Truck safe.
All right, Kellylynn. Danny wasn't going to give me a chance to do it, but I was going to tell you. I'll go ahead and tell you a little bit about him. He's like he told you, he's been in the trucking industry for over 40 years, and I do this every time he calls in because he's retiring in February. Never had an accident.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So,
that's a true professional there.
So let's do this. I've actually got some questions that have come in here, which are very interesting. And So let's see which one I want to tackle first. This one right here. Let's go with this one. So how much extra horsepower do you have when loading? And this comes from this comes from Johnny Lowe, and we had him on as a guest last week. He hauls a lot of heavy equipment and stuff out of West Texas. So anyway, so
well, I don't know. Are we just counting, tonnage? Or are we counting methane production too?
there you go. There you go. All right. Charlie Demchuk, he's actually listening to us over on Facebook. He's a very interesting topic. I see so many equestrian trailers both in South Florida going to Gulfstream and up near Ocala.
Yeah.
So I do too. I mean, I run down south a lot in Florida, and I see a lot of horse trailers and all that, and a lot of the farms down there. So I know that Ocala is a big region for these horses.
They have something called the World Equestrian Center. They also have one in Kentucky, they call it WEC, W-E-C. And it's really interesting because they have all these different arenas that are inside, lots and lots of barns that, it's kind of like spider arms, right? They're all attached to like the center arenas. And then the barns all have all these stalls, which have, everything that people need in order to be able to care for the horses. They have water, and then they have, airflow and access to hay and storage for all of they have all these cases and, tack, and, they pretty much live with their horses. They move in. Some people even bring refrigerators and freezers and all sorts of stuff, chairs, bedding, and their dogs. And then they have a whole like shopping area. It's almost like a little mall. And the WEC center that I went to in Kentucky, it even had a drive-through Starbucks in the facility.
Wow.
So you would drive through one of the barns and get your Starbucks. I mean, it's set up. I mean, the competitors and the trainers come, like I said, and it's not just a weekend. They stay for a while and do their training, exhibition, and all that kind of jazz. So
yeah. Let me let's tackle this next question here. So those freight boxes are pretty cool. Do they have feed and water in them while they're in the boxes?
Yeah, they do.
Okay, even on everything.
Evidently, if they don't have hay, they get very cranky, and then they get in trouble.
Oh, okay. So when they're being transported on an airplane, they have an attendant there also?
No, you just put a bucket of water in there, and then they get these hay nets. And the deal with the hay nets is that they can't just munch on the hay all at once. They have to pluck it out with their lips. So it's almost like a boredom prevention kit. Their hay net. They have to work at it to get the hay out.
Got you. All right. You may can answer this question. You may not be able to answer. What is the charge to haul a horse from Chicago to Florida?
Yeah, I can't answer that question. And it varies from carrier to carrier.
Right.
And there is the American Horse Association, American Horse Carriage Association, something like that. There's two different associations that horse haulers can register for.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a huge market. I mean, the horse haulers seem to have way more work than they can do, and they're begging for drivers as much as anybody else in the transportation industry. They cannot get enough drivers in the seat.
Okay. All right. Let's go and let's look at the rest of these pictures here. And I think I'm going to have to go back some. So,
yeah.
So right here, tell us about the picture.
Well, this is the Oklahoma guys trailer. And we had 12 horses that we were hauling from Ohio down to Oklahoma, and the horses had been up there competing for a couple of weeks, and we were picking them up and bringing back. And they were just really, you can see the hay nets. You can see how, there's just little holes for the horses to get their lips in to
Right.
grab the hay. And these horses, I actually had to lift the water buckets up to them individually because there was nowhere to hang water buckets in this guy's trailer. So, and some of the horses are really funny. Like they would put their whole head in there and suck up the water and then like spray you like an elephant.
Oh, Lord.
And others, would drink it very daintily.
So they all have their each own personalities.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
All right. This must be one of the immaculate barns you were talking about.
Yes, yes, it
Wow.
is. I mean, like you can see that massive chandelier, and there are horses in all of those stalls, but there's no dirt anywhere, and it was just beautiful. It was late at night. It was almost 11 o'clock at night when we arrived to unload these trailers, and it
Right.
was just beautiful. And that's my boss there. He was contacting the owner, letting them know. Each one of the stalls had a brass nameplate for the horse. And a
Wow.
lot of the horses have the halter on them, and it has their name on the halter. But these particular horses didn't have halters with names on them, and we didn't know which horse was in which stall.
Got a call coming in. Got a call coming in. Hello, caller. This is Tim with Truckers Voices with Steve Brand and Kellylynn McLaughlin. Who do we got on the line tonight?
This is Charlie Demchuk.
Hey, Charlie. How are you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, Tim. How are you doing?
Oh, man, doing great. Doing great. Glad you called the show. Just talked to your good friend a while ago, Mr. Danny Smith. But are you out trucking tonight, or are you taking 10 off?
No, I took half the week off because the hurricane
That's
came
right.
in right by my house, and I'm not a true professional like Mr. Smith, so I didn't drive through it.
I got you. I do remember the days when we would actually get out and drive through some of this stuff. But this day and time, everybody's got a little, little scared, so they shut down. But I do remember driving through some of the hurricanes in the past. So, Danny, what's your question for Kellylynn tonight? I mean, Charlie. I'm sorry.
That's all right, Tim. I'll let you go.
Let me slide.
No, I was just wondering, with all the, what's the main type of horse? Do you haul thoroughbreds? Do you haul like show horses, so to speak, or stud horses?
They're all show horses or race horses that the guy Tony April's hauling right now. That's the guy that I really like driving with. And they're all hunter jumpers, standard race horses, thoroughbred race horses. So yeah, they're well trained, athletes is what they are. So they're beautiful.
Yeah. Well, I was just curious. This is an odd question, but what type of insurance is there if something were to happen in transit to a thoroughbred? What type of insurance or protocols do you have?
Well, first we're really safe drivers, right? We go above and beyond to keep these guys safe, and lots of space, and take it easy. And you would not believe how smooth we drive on the ramps. We hardly ever, and Tony was saying, he's like, you don't want to use your brake. You want to let momentum do this for you, because horses don't like you doing a lot of braking. And so, we're super cautious drivers, but he does have insurance on his cargo, just like any other cargo. And that's part of the cost of doing business, is having, insurance for these really expensive pieces of cargo that we have. And yeah, it's just like cargo insurance. So it's a little bit more expensive.
Well, yeah, a lot of people don't realize that the cost of a thoroughbred is more than a house in some cases, and I mean, honestly, I drive South Florida a lot, and I see a ton of horse trailers,
Yeah.
and it seems like those horses have it better than I do in my cab when I see them going by. I mean,
Yeah.
it's air conditioned. They got lights on. I mean, they got it going on.
Yeah.
It's just it's amazing. I've never actually seen the air cargo. That was shocking. My wife and I were watching, and we're like, "Whoa, look at that! That's amazing."
I always wondered how people got their, you watch the Olympics, right? And, there's horse competitions in London, and the horses come from all over the world to get there. And I'm like, well, how do they get there? Do they put them on a ship? How does that all work? So anyway, it's been interesting to learn that. And then, horses, like when you transfer them from, say, like the winter climate and they're going to Florida, that we don't air condition the trailers because evidently that's that shock of going from an air conditioned trailer to a really warm, like even when it was 100 degrees, we just tried not to stop and for just long enough to get some water in the horses and make sure that their hay nets and the horses are okay. But and when we stopped, we tried to unload them really quick in the hot weather because the guy I was running with, he's like, horses, they don't like that sudden change of temperature from an air conditioned to weather. And so, and the same thing goes from cold to warm. They have blankets and their little cozy jackets on when they're up in the cold weather. And then as you get down to the warmer climate, you have to start stripping all that off of them and let them acclimate to the temperature that they're moving into, and vice versa. So
Yeah, they're very temperamental.
yeah.
No, I think that's one of those niche markets
Yes.
that are very vital, and you don't realize it, and a lot of us see it every day out on the interstates, but we don't know about it,
Yeah.
and it's very interesting. Thank you for being on and sharing.
But I think all of these horse operators, these horse transport operators, I think they all know each other. I think it's a very small business world that you don't want to burn any bridges, and you want to treat everybody with respect. And yeah, and I'm just trying to learn as much as I can while I'm there and share their story.
Yeah, it's really cool. Thank you for being on and sharing.
Yeah, nice to meet you, Charlie.
Hey,
Yep.
Charlie.
Hey, you guys have a great night.
Hey, Charlie.
Yes.
So you were talking about the horses having some nice trailers, lights, and all the facilities there and all that. Tell you what we're going to do. We're going to get you some hay and a bucket of water to put in your Walmart truck. How about that?
My wife's got me sleeping out in the garage because I'm home and not working. So I have a nice little straw
mat
set up, and but
hey,
you got to give me a break, Tim. I haven't slept much last night. I'll tell you what, my wife and I are so blessed. We did not lose power. There's like over 60,000 people in our county alone that lost power. We didn't.
That's good.
So that's why I'm able to come on and give you guys a hard time, so to speak.
Well, Charlie, we thank you for calling, and we thank you for everything that you do. And you are a friend of the show. You and Danny and Scott Post, y'all are all friends of the show. So we definitely appreciate you coming on and appreciate your support there for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, no problem. Thanks. You guys do a good job.
Thanks, Charlie. Holler at me sometime soon.
Yeah.
Hey.
So here's one thing that I learned about these horses is Tony, master horseman, he said that horses don't like laughter. I don't know if it makes them a little nervous. Maybe it mimics a neigh or something like that. And so
Mhm.
I'm gonna have a good time while I'm working hard. And I was laughing. He's like, "Oh no, don't laugh." And so what I do with the horses now is I either just talk to them or I sing to them instead of laughing.
Well, I wanted to throw this picture up here and show
Yeah.
you got your lights on there and all beautiful.
So this is one of Tony's trailers, and he always keeps them really nice and shiny and clean. But there's all these billy boxes where we keep the buckets and these straw mats, so that as the horses are going up and down the ramps, they don't slip,
Mhm.
and it just helps them keep their footing a little bit better, and the chest bars, because there's most of the time there's not doors on their individual stalls. There's just a bar that goes across at chest level, and it's kind of like the pin, that holds your watch band on your watch. It kind of squeezes together on the ends,
Right.
retracts. So that's kind of how that works.
Oh.
And the other thing I learned when is that we can make the stalls one, like a single stall, 1.5 stall, or a box stall, and a lot of the owners would want extra so that they can have a box stall, which is the width of the trailer for the
Mhm.
horse, so it'll have more room to move around and all that kind of stuff. But when you're turning and braking and going over rough highway, as we often do, it leaves the horse a lot more room to move and actually get injured. So the single and the 1.5 stalls are actually safer for the horse in transit than the big box stalls, which you would think would be more comfy, but when you're moving, it's actually more dangerous.
Got you. All right, so let me key up the video here because we're getting close on time. Believe it or not, we're getting real close. So
By fast.
yeah, so let me.
There's 4 in each section here. There's 3 different sections of these 4. And they're just really interesting.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah,
interesting.
and they're very messy. You can see we'd only been driving for about 20 minutes, and they already had hay everywhere.
Are they like children?
Yes, they love count and stomp.
I got you. I got you. Before we actually end the show, Kellylynn, let's tackle these last comments here. Scott Post says, "Thank you for taking so much pride in all that you do. This is definitely a job that has a lot of responsibility. It shows that you are willing to do whatever it takes to keep your employer a Class A act." So nice comment there.
That's sweet.
And then Nancy, they're both supporters of the show. Nancy, his wife, says, "Very cool. Thanks for sharing." So anyway, yeah, thank you for sharing what you do with us, and I'm glad to know that you are still in the trucking industry, but you are actually in another sub industry also of moving horses around. Before we actually close out, I'm going to give Steve the opportunity to ask a question.
Well, she answered my question because I was going to want to know if the trailers was temperature control with coming in and out of Chicago like that. So basically, you just put the blanket on them, and then depending on what temperature you're rolling into, you'll down dress them, so to speak.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just very interesting. Thank you very much for coming on. Very, very interesting because it is totally different than hauling cows, bulls, pigs. It's totally different. Them, you just load them in, carry them to the market, unload them, let them go. These are very vital, precious cargo, so to speak.
They're
Precious cargo.
family members and well-trained athletes. It's specialized business, and it's been interesting. And so next time you see somebody going down with one of these big semis hauling horses, give a shout out and give them a little honk. So
Sure will. Sure will.
We definitely will. And thank you for what you're doing with the FMCSA advisory board there.
what an awesome.
And you absolutely passed the torch down to an excellent driver to drive Winnie around there. We got to interview Kaylee, and she was a great interview, and we're going to have her back on again soon because I know she's done a lot since we first talked to her. But anyway,
she's going to be very busy.
Yeah, she's going to be very busy. And Steve and I, we know what it is to haul a trailer around with a simulator in it and all that. So it's a lot of setup.
Yeah.
Steve, do you have anything that you want to rant about today?
No, not really. No, I'm good.
All right. Well, we're going to close the show out. Kellylynn.
I just want to say I'm glad that you're on the tail end of COVID and came out on the other end. So that's no fun. And just have a great holiday and Thanksgiving, y'all. And hopefully I'll get to see you in person sometime.
Yep, hopefully so.
Looking forward to it.
Hopefully so. Well, thank you for coming on, and you're gonna have to come back on and just keep us updated. That's what it's all like. Keep us updated, because who knows, you could be hauling something else next time we talk to you.
Right.
Exactly. One quick question: is there a busier season for hauling these horses than others?
Yes. It's right now.
Really, right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
Like November to the beginning of April is the season. So
All right. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Happy Thanksgiving. Truck safe. And now I know what colors your truck are. I'll be looking for you.
Yeah, green. Just look for green.
Hey, and if you're coming south and you're coming down through Atlanta, through Valdosta, all down 75 there, give me a shout. Give me a shout on the phone.
Okay, I will.
Thanks, right. Y'all have a good night. And y'all just hang tight until we go off the air here for a minute, okay?
All right.
I believe in God our Father. I believe in Christ the Son.